Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm Dear Darling. I shall see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhollow today in our late game. What's wrong with me? Oh no, game lingo dripping into your everyday conversational. What's a word? Lexicon. I don't know. I can't string together words right now. Is definitely not a great sign. But it's a late night episode, which is slowly becoming more of a usual. I'm scrolling through my photo album, my Google Photos album, showing it to my friend just to see where I was conversation. I can't even remember what I spoke about yesterday. What did I speak? Oh, I spoke about old wars. That's what I spoke about yesterday. That's true. Good evening, everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow, it's 11:38 p.m. on Monday, September 25th, 2023. So I don't know. What else did we do apart from this old wars walk on that day? I mean, that's kind of the majority of it. I'm gonna be perfectly honest. That's not beat around the bush or anything, we went to a park, nice sunset. Oh, you know what we did, which is not something I've done very often, or I can think really ever. But basically, long and short of it is, after the walk around the walls, me and two other friends, we went to a park because basically the group was getting more split on who was starting to feel tired about doing things, etc., which is totally fair. Everyone's got different energy levels, everyone's got different desires to do things. That's kind of a point. I mean, it was actually something I was talking about recently, was the fact we have such a large group, but the fact that we still, were pretty mature about exactly, who wanted to do what, and that sort of thing is pretty good, But we as a group, we're obviously all friends, and I suppose we're secure enough in our friendship to realise that, no, we don't need to do every single activity all the time all together. We inherently understand who has different wants and who has different likes, and we all intrinsically kind of know our own and willing to stand up and, basically there's not as much of an obligation, I think, in our group to go along and do things for the sake of doing things. I think people are sort of very self-aware in their own regards of what they want to do rather than not doing that, which leads it to be less of an organisational nightmare. Apparently, which is not something I thought about, but yeah, upon reflection, I'm happy our friend circle is mature in that sense. Anyway. No, sorry. Yeah, as I was saying, the group split. Actually, the group split multiple times that day, because we went to the old town, and then the group split where another group went home after the meal and didn't go on the war tour. Then the group split again where some people left the war tour early, and then the group split again after the war tour where some of us went to the park and some of us I don't know what they did. I think they just had more drinks out of a bar or something. I can't really remember. Anyway, me and two friends went to the park, and then me and one friend went on a walk around the park while the other friends just sort of. I don't know why I'm giving you all these details. I never really thought about it, but I had a group of 13 people. We did very well at splitting ourselves into people doing what they wanted. So, and it was basically something where basically most people ended up happy with it. So, well, as far as I know. Of course, things are never perfect, so to speak, but it's still a pretty good outcome, and far better, and high on the bell curve of possible outcomes. But anyway, long story short, we went to a park. We walked around the park because the sun was setting, basically, so we caught the sunset. And I like to take photos. It's a perpetual habit of mine where I'm not going to say I take the most photos necessarily. I mean, my friends might say I do because I've never really counted, I suppose, on a numerical level, but I take a lot of photos. And I tend to take photos of people rather than of things. So whenever we're on holiday, you can absolutely count whenever we got a shared photo album afterwards. You can see all the photos of me. Will be photos of people doing things, either candid photos or just in random moments. I'll just point the camera at someone and be smile. Which, to be fair, you might hate that if you are someone who hates photos, which is totally fair and that sort of thing. But to me, I suppose I had this absolutely amazing, not amazing line. Okay, let's not be that full of myself. But I felt I said a line in my personal Discord, I suppose, recently, which really encompasses, I suppose, my thought process on this sort of thing, is that life is captured through memories of the minutiae as well as the grand, which, I don't know, it perhaps sounds more poetic than it actually is, but basically it's me just saying I like the memories of the small things as well as the big things. And I feel if you're, I don't know why Grand Canyon came to mind, but for example, you went, to visit the Grand Canyon, I feel like a very typical thing would be whoa, the Grand Canyon's look at this amazing view, take pictures of the Grand Canyon and stuff like that. But for me personally, I'm very much, I'm going to take one photo, maybe two of the Grand Canyon, maybe a few more if I get an interesting angle or something interesting going on. at the same time. But most of my photos are going to be photos of people, you know, like the photos of someone like doing a photo shoot for someone else, you know, me sneaking up on someone, like taking a photo of them, random selfies, stuff like that, because that's it's as I've gotten older, I realized the photos I look at in the albums, I don't care about that photo of a Grand Canyon, you know, to be perfectly honest. I like it better as a grounding point to be like, oh yeah, that was like the day we went to the Grand Canyon or whatever. So, you know, 1 or 2 photos of whatever the point of interest was that day is totally fine. But the photos I look at, the videos I watch are the ones of my friends, of my family, things like that. But like the small random things, you know, where I'm just like, oh, you know, hey, person's name, hey John Doe, what are we eating today? And they're like, well, dear darling, we're eating, you know, and I'll be like, whoa, where are we going? And it's just like these light-hearted videos like this of things of everyday, the humdrum of everyday life are very much ones which I end up watching. So that sort of pervades my choice for the photos I take, which I think is good. To be honest, I mean, I like it. I don't necessarily know what my friends think of it. Sometimes I'm sure like a lot of my friends do like being in photos and videos, to be perfectly fair. So a lot of them would just be like, yeah. And even if they don't love being in photos and videos, I'm not gonna hunt them out specifically for it, but they'll still go along with it. But I'm sure there's probably times where we're just like, okay, gosh, not another photo for dear darling, or another video, etc., etc. But I feel like when you're in a holiday mood, you're much more, well, what's the opposite of camera shy? Camera bold. I don't know. Anyway, sorry, but this huge tangent getting away from the actual conversational topic, which I was going to talk about, is the fact we went to the park and me and my friend went on a walk, and, you know, the sun was setting and it was really nice. So we took a load of photos in front of the sunset area. And then one of the things I was like, I can't remember exactly what inspired it, but I was like, hey, we should try and take a photo of you like holding the sun, like grabbing the sun, you know, one of those like perspective trick photos which people love to take out in front of, like, I don't know, like the Eiffel Tower or something, where you know, hold your hands out and it looks like the Eiffel Tower is just like resting on your palm. It's not something I've ever done. No, I don't think I can remember doing those perspective trick photos, and a lot of my photos don't tend to be as posed, I suppose. They tend to be rather random. So it's just like you have a 3 seconds strike a pose, that's it. But we did it because, you know, I guess a very spur of a moment thing, and it's actually a really good photo, I'm not gonna lie, of my friend. Just like, it looks like he's holding the sun. It's like he's putting the sun into the sky or something. And I mean, Croatia itself is lending huge amounts, I suppose, to carrying the beauty of the scenery. But Croatia is a beautiful country, and then it was just like the sunset over like the ocean, the lighting. It's so like atmospheric. It's so cute. It's so like pretty. It's perfect. And I was like, wow, this is a really nice photo. And we took another one, I think, where we made like a heart shape and like captured the sun within the heart, and it's amazing because it almost feels like intentionally shot. Well, okay, I mean, it was intentionally shot. I mean, like, intentionally done in such a way, because there's like a really like nice looking lens there, I suppose, while we're sort of backlit by the sun with our face being silhouetted. It feels very artsy in a sense, in a way that obviously was not intended. I'm not like a photographer. I was going to say I'm not an artist, which is, you know, just definitively false, I suppose, at this point. You know, as humble as I like to be, I think, you know, humility is more defined by having a self-awareness of your own station, but not going above and beyond your station, in a sense, rather than having a lack of self-awareness about your station. I mean, I talked about this before, but humility, if you aren't aware of your own ability, that's not humble, I suppose, in a sense. It sort of feels like humility too often gets tied up with being like, oh, I'm the worst ever. Or like, you know, if I would just be like, oh, I'm absolutely terrible at drawing, it would be like, that's ridiculous. That doesn't sound humble. It'd be more like, oh, I still have a lot to learn about drawing, you know, but I'm still proud, you know, happy with how I am. That feels more humble to me, I suppose. Degrading, that's the word. Like, degrading yourself isn't humility, I suppose. You know, have confidence in your own skills and abilities. Be proud of the stuff you have, but, you know, understand what you got to learn as well. Anyway, so the long shot is we shot these like perspective-based photos. Not a huge amount. You know, just one of where he's like holding the sun, and one when we did a heart, and the sun is like in the middle of the heart we made for the photo. Honestly, they look very cute. They're really nice photos. I don't know, like sunset, or like the golden hour, I suppose, which is, I think, the hour before sunset. I can't really remember. It's like prime time, certainly, for photos. It's I'm not going to pretend it's like some big secret where it's like, oh, you know, people love taking photos at this time because it's like the lighting's amazing or stuff. But there are certainly photos where I look at them and be like, wow, you know, the lighting is like amazing. it's like very obvious. But I mean, I guess I don't really go out to like look at the sunset all that often. There aren't like many. I mean, there probably are places near me which are good places for observing the sunset, but they're not things it's not really something I do all that often, to be perfectly honest. How do we even have notifications for chat log island life? If you eco dish, then we'll get full at once. Eco dish before doing any intense work. You want to try and visit that? What on earth is a chat? Oh, I thought this chat log had a notification. It doesn't. It's just because on the actual icon itself, it has a notification, which feels like a terrible idea, design-wise. But whatever. I suppose, you know, who am I to judge Nook how you design your operating system? That's not really your operating system. That's more like app design, isn't it? But whatever. It's visual design, UX design. No, UI is graphic interface design. Whatever. Okay, I don't know the exact delineations between app creations. Yes, but it's like perspective photos are like fun, I suppose. Obviously, if it takes, I guess the reason I don't do it is because it takes too much effort to set up most of the time. There's not also that many opportunities. I feel like you need to be on like one quite like an open area or like on like a hilly area, I suppose, with like no other tourists, because I'm not saying that like other tourists are bad. Like obviously we're tourists as well. It would be hypocritical for me like, oh, these tourists shouldn't be here in this photo, but it would be silly for me to say, oh, you know, like, would I prefer a photo with my friends with a tourist in, with random tourist in, or without a random tourist? And obviously the answer would be like without random tourists if I can help it. I mean, it's why it's like a built-in, not a built-in feature, but it's now like a feature which some phones have, where I think it's like you take a time lapse sort of thing and then it like stitches together by like erasing people in the back of photos by stitching together multiple photos, which is cool, to be perfectly honest. You know, technology is getting pretty wild, I suppose, when it comes to things. Perhaps a bit too wild. You know, one of my friends has a phone camera which uses like AI imagery or something on the photos he takes, which I've got to be like, okay, I'm fine with AI like removing people from background, I suppose, in that sense, but it feels weird when you're using AI to, I suppose, spruce up your photo, right? Because I mean, he was talking about like he took a picture of a sun and then it's just like it looks like an absolute blob, and then it renders and then it's like, wow, it's like a perfect rendering of a sun, and he's like, obviously that's just like AI. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I guess that's basically like a step too far, a step outside of a realm of plausibility for me personally. But you know, your mileage may vary. You might be like, I don't even like the feature of like removing background people and using AI or whatever. But you know, I'm not here to have a conversation about AI. I've said my piece about AI before. You can probably, I don't actually know if I have a video on it, but I don't know, you can stitch together my opinions through the 1,400 or so videos I've made. Actually, I recommend you don't do that, because that would be probably insane, and I'd assume my opinions on a lot of things have changed over time, as you know. I guess that's to a certain degree a sign of maturity, but it's to a certain degree of just like, you know, learning more about the world, eh? Anyway, these perspective photos. Oh man, for a second I just realised, I was like, wow, I'm 26. That's so weird to think about. Because in my mind for a second I was like, well, I'm 24, but now I was like, wait a minute, no, I'm 26. Weird. That's so weird to think about. What the heck? When did I turn 20? I mean, obviously I turned 26 like earlier this month, but still. I just feel strange. Is this a stage where I don't feel my age? Because I think I said this. No, actually, that's not true. Because it's definitely happened before. I think I said this when I was like turning like 22 or whatever. And I was like, I don't feel like I've aged from 18 or whatever. Which in hindsight, it's probably not. In hindsight, in a vacuum, that probably isn't a great thing to have, because it's like, oh, I haven't aged at all since I was 18. You know, I haven't like emotionally matured or anything, or matured in any sense, which is not really how I meant it. I guess it felt like the birthdays felt less and less significant, I suppose, past 18. But now it's like, it felt like it caught up again at 24, and now I'm just like at that resting point. And I'm sure when I hit like 28 or 30, you know, my mental model of how old I feel will sort of springboard up again, and I'll be like, whoa. Anyway, that was a bit of a tangent. These perspective photos. I mean, there's some cool perspective photos. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I feel like people. Well, I don't know. I feel like, because you got to understand, the internet is not particularly representative. I feel like the internet is significantly more cynical, I suppose, than people actually are in real life. But so you've got to make a delineation between things you like read, opinion pieces online on like social media, versus how people actually act in real life, etc., etc. I feel like most people probably pretty cool with like perspective photos. You know, go to the Leaning Tower of Pisa. You know, pretend to like be pushing it over, take that photo, Eiffel Tower, hold it in your hand. Stuff like that. I don't know what the typical ones are necessarily, but I feel like people are generally like for them. I feel like it's quite a cynical view to be like, oh, I'm against them, because like, one, who cares? It's not your photo for one. But I don't know. It's a sort of like, it very much is this sort of thing like, there is no need to be cynical about it, because it's something which, one, doesn't affect you, and two, just like only affects the person who's taking your photo or their photo is being taken of. So why be cynical about something which can only really be a net positive? Unless the people taking the photo like absolutely hate the concept of it, in which case I would question why they would do it in the first place. But let's not jump to that assumption, because that's a little bit of a redonkulous one, to be perfectly honest. Basically, long and short, I don't even know what I was saying. These perspective photos, well, I think there's a cynical view of them being like cliche or whatever, and in my opinion, you can do them. They're fun. They're silly. They're fun. You know, are they necessarily creative anymore? No, probably not. But you know, the first people who did it found them super creative, and you know, there's always your first time, I suppose, doing it as well. You know, while you may not be the first person in the world to do, you know, the Leaning Tower piece and, you know, propping it up shot, you are probably, it's going to still be the first time, but you yourself have done it, and that's got significance, I don't know. Because, I mean, your world is kind of something more local to you compared to the entire globe. The entire globe doesn't really care about the number of people who've taken this Leaning Tower Pisa shot. But you probably care about how many times you've taken it, right? Anyway, but that's basically a long and short of what I say. Again, I feel like the cynical view, I suppose, on these sort of things is sort of a clouded judgment of the entire world, you know. I felt like most people will be very normal about that sort of thing, being like, I have no strong opinion on the Leaning Tower of Pisa, you know, shot. And you'd be like, if I was to phrase the question and be like, do you think it's cliche? People would be like, yeah, you think it's, yeah, I think it's cliche. And then I'd be like, do you hate it? They'll probably be like, I've got no reason to hate it. Why would I? Anyway, but long and short of this is, we took this nice perspective shot, and it looked like my friend was holding up the sun, and it's pretty cool. And then we did one of a heart, and we have a heart captured in the sun, and that also looks very cool. And I like these photos. That's basically it. Anyway, I'm going to round this episode off here. So if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Socials down below. I hope we can see each other again, but for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye-bye for now.